Tonight on Coyote News, USD's residential halls have been over capacity for the past 2 years. Find out the U's plan to accommodate the rising enrollments. I'm Courtney Starrett.
And I'm Taylor Moore. Coyote Confessions is an anonymous way for USD students to share their darkest secrets online, but there are any legal repercussions to the content posted.
Plus, a look at the Coyotes football season so far and how USD is trying to keep students engaged at sporting events, both home and away. Those stories are coming up, but first, the headlines with Caitlin Steffel.
Human remains have been found in a car believed to be related to a South Dakota missing persons case that's more than 4 decades old. The 1960 Studebaker was found upside down in the Brule Creek near Union Grove State Park. Vermilion teenagers Sherry Miller and Pamela Jackson were 17 years old when they disappeared in 1971. They were on their way to a party less than a mile from where the car was recovered. The remains have been sent to a pathology lab in Sioux Falls for testing. After the U.S. House of Representatives passed a continuing resolution to fund the government, but defund the Affordable Care Act, Republican Senator Ted Cruz attempted to filibuster the bill on the Senate floor. Cruz spoke for more than 21 hours, not because he disagrees with the defunding of Obamacare, but because he wanted Democrats to have a harder time restoring the funds. And those are your headlines.
University dining plans are a perennial sore point for undergraduate students. But as Coyote News' Andrew Farrell reports, one dining policy in particular is more upsetting than others.
Every year, USD students spend several millions of dollars in flex money and on meals. But oftentimes, students don't actually use all of that money. In order to get it back, students are required to fill out a refund form. According to the USD website, successful refunds are typically based on medical or financial reasons. Refunds are not granted for personal convenience, vegetarianism or veganism, or scholarship status. Needless to say, this policy has a few students up in arms.
So students are being responsible, and they'll save their money, and then they just expect them to either spend it all on just some unnecessary items.
People just ransack the place of Gatorade and stuff at the end of the year, but we shouldn't have to ask for our own money back.
And I think this university, and actually the United States education, needs to get on track and start figuring things out.
For Coyote News, I'm Andrew Farrell.
Tonight, we want to know what you think. Should USD refund students money for the meals they don't eat each semester? What should the university do with that money? Go to our Coyote News Facebook page and comment on our question, or tweet your response to @CoyoteNews. We'd like to read your concerns at the end of the newscast.
Early each fall semester, USD President James Abbott outlines his goals for the university in the coming year. Coyote News' Nicole Griffith is live in the muck with President Abbott to discuss his State of the University address. Nicole.
Thanks, Taylor. President Abbott is speaking tomorrow in Alpha Auditorium, but he's here today to discuss some potential highlights. President Abbott, thanks for being here today.
Thanks for asking me.
How does this year's address compare to those in the past?
You know, in the past I've tried to give maybe sort of an outline of what happened during the year. I'm not going to do that so much this year. What I really want to focus on this year is the enrollment situation, which is actually pretty good, and to talk about what I see happening with the sort of national scene. As you know, there's a lot of emphasis on skills these days and not so much on liberal arts education. So I want to talk a little bit about that and what happens if the people who make these kinds of decisions decide that what we're going to end up doing is pushing skills and not liberal arts. So what then happens? How do we work in that world? Where will we be vulnerable, and where will we continue to be strong?
As being president, you have attended so many D-Days before in the past. What event are you looking forward to most next week? You
know what? I always like the crowning of the king and queen. I always think that's kind of fun. For years we did that at a different time. I really like having it at the game. I just think it's a lot of fun. So I like that.
All right, well, thank you so much for being here today.
You're very welcome.
The President's address is open to the public. Live in the muck, I'm Nicole Griffith.
It's Nicole. President Abbott's State of the University address is tomorrow afternoon at 4 in Alpha Auditorium. It's common for first and second year students to reside in campus housing. What about older non-traditional students? Associate Dean of Students Phil Covington reveals something students may not know about the housing process.
We break students into whether you're a first year or a non-first year, meaning second year and above. And so somebody even who may be 40 years old could still live in a traditional residence hall and even have a roommate, but they would not live with a first year student. They would be with somebody who's in their second year or greater.
Although being placed with a 40-year-old roommate is uncommon, Covington says the U doesn't release personal information to either student beforehand.
That is not something that that we share. We don't say, hey, we just want to know. We notice that you're 19 and your roommate's going to be 27.
Junior Caitlin Freeman says she has another solution for the random roommate option.
I think that they should give them the option to only have a single bedroom apartment for themselves or put them together with someone that is of similar age.
USD currently has 5 residence halls, with North Complex and Kyle Village open to first-year students.
Coming up after the break, students have only one campus option to get their morning coffee. And find out how you can keep your bike safe for free. Stay tuned.
USD's contemporary media and journalism program can be seen and heard all over campus. Faculty members know that hands-on experience now is the key to success after college. Get professional experience by participating in one of the many practicums offered. Have your voice heard on the radio. Edit a promo for a campus organization. Investigate breaking news stories for a weekly newspaper. Design advertisements for local businesses. Get involved with the CMJ department at USD and start your future now.
Many students walk to class or even drive, but others find the convenience and cost efficiency of a bike too hard to pass up. University Police Lieutenant Jeff Rice says it's easy to register your bike and there are advantages to doing so.
Well, a student just comes into the University Police Department office and says they want to register their bike. We'll just have them fill out a short form, get some information like the serial number. We'll give them a sticker, and then all they have to do is put that sticker on the bike.
Some students say that a sticker is too easy to pry off a stolen bike, allowing the thieves to potentially walk away unpunished.
They're not like a regular sticker. They're kind of like the stickers you put on your license plate, so it's a little bit difficult to take them off. That's why we encourage the student, when they put them on, to put them in a place where they're not easily seen, but yet we know we can find them when we look the bike over.
A sticker can only help the UPD find your stolen bike, but it can't prevent it from being stolen. But there are other ways to secure your bike.
Well, of course, first and foremost, it's going to be to lock your bike up. Get a good, solid bike lock. Don't go down and buy a cheap little chain and expect it to be able to hold that bike. A nice, hard U-bolt type lock, and make sure you're locking it whenever you leave it. Don't just run into it, say, oh, I'm only going to be here for a minute. Run in and think your bike, is going to be there.
It costs nothing to register your bike with the UPD.
A Facebook page created last year has provided USD students with the opportunity to confess their deepest secrets anonymously. Since its launch, students and faculty have wondered if there can be legal repercussions for the
potentially
U.
several legal issues. Potentially libel, potentially invasion of privacy, potentially bullying or harassment. But I don't think the university has any worry along those lines, as long as it's completely separate. The university is completely separate from the site.
The university may be safe, but what about the page's administrator?
The site is just being a conduit for the speech of other people. Then no, probably not. If, however, the admin goes in and starts editing comments or encouraging certain kinds of comments, then you run into separate issues.
Only the admin can decide the future of USD confessions, but for now, the site is safe.
On this week's blog, Chuck Gresser shares his concerns about Vermilion's feline inhabitants.
Last week, I told you I'd give you my take on Vermilion's overwhelming squirrel population. But the root of this problem can be hard to see. Meow, as I'm sure you're all aware, the city of Vermilion has a bit of a feral cat problem, a catastrophe, if you will. When are people going to finally realize the city isn't doing its job in curbing the street cat population? When you wake up to a beautiful Vermilion sunrise, there's no sound prettier than the singing of songbirds, except we don't have too many here in town. When was the last time you saw a goldfinch, cardinal, and bluebird all fly by on the same day? Not in a while. And that's due to our huge feral cat problem. In fact, according to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, A recent Wisconsin study estimates domestic cats alone have caused 39 million songbird deaths in that state. But that study doesn't even include the deaths by feral cats. The catch is that once the songbirds are gone, there's a niche left void in the ecosystem. And the readiest animal to exploit this was none other than our acrobatic outdoor neighbors, the fox squirrel. Unfortunately, these large poofy rats feed not only on the seeds and berries, but also garbage, ripping the bag open and tossing paper all over the alleyway. Thus, the picky trashman won't take any of your garbage. Meow, you may think to yourself, well, hey, can't the cats take care of the squirrels too? No. In fact, cats hardly catch tree squirrels. The masters of athletic ability and precision coordination, the perfect match for cats, they can even climb up trees without getting stuck. So city officials, here's your assignment. Take someone off code enforcement, since they're just writing tickets for overgrown grass, and tell them to take care of the cats. What's the matter? Cat got your tongue? Talking about squirrels is driving me nuts. I'm out of here. For Coyote Blog, I'm Chuck Gresser.
Some visitors to USD are showing students a different way of life. Tibetan monks are on campus until Friday, speaking in classes and constructing a sand mandala in the atrium of the medical school. The mandala is a three-dimensional figure made with different colored sands. It represents a palace, and the color of the four entrances represent the earth. The monks will destroy the mandala Friday at 3:30 and then scatter the sand into the Missouri River. Tonight, the monks have a traditional dance ceremony starting at 7 o'clock in Alf's Auditorium. You can learn more about the Tibetan monks and their way of life in this week's The Volant.
The Munster University Center is the primary location for USD snacks and meal options, but some students are upset over the closing of another option on campus. On this week's York Report, Jelan Doom investigates why the Newhart Cafe closed.
It's no secret a large percentage of students depend on their morning joe or late-night caffeine pick-me-up to push through the stresses of college.
Although most Division I universities offer several coffee locations on campus, USD students arrived this fall with only one option open for business.
The Newhart Cafe, formerly located in the lobby of the Al Newhart Media Building, closed this year, leaving University Brew in the Muck as USD's lone coffee shop. USD spokesperson Tina Haroldson says the Newhart Cafe was subsidized by the Freedom Forum, a media organization that held offices in the building. She says the forum recently implemented some changes in their programs, which included closing its Vermilion location.
Without that subsidy from the Freedom Forum, the cafe wasn't making enough money on its own to make it viable.
Some of these changes came after the death this summer of USD alum Al Newhart, founder of USA Today and one of the founders of the forum. Haroldson says Newhart felt it was important to have the coffee shop open to both students and employees in the building.
He was a big supporter of USD, and he very much wanted high visibility for his program here at USD, and without him, I think that probably has made it harder to keep the program here.
While the forum may be leaving the building, South Dakota Public Broadcasting employees also use the cafe services. And although it wasn't centrally located on campus like UBrew, many students, like junior Allison Sonnenberg, outside of the contemporary media and journalism major, found it a convenient place to stop.
I really liked having the Newhart Cafe so close to the business school because all my classes are in the business school, so it was nice to be able to just walk that short distance here.
Despite the cafe packing up its espresso machine, USD students are all too familiar with campus dining switching up its options. Haroldson says no plans are in the works for a new coffee shop this year, but she wouldn't be surprised if another one opens sometime in the future. For Coyote News, I'm Jelan Doom.
Coming up after the break, USD's housing is over capacity. Find out how the university is accommodating those extra students and a preview of the theater department's first production of the semester. Next.
Dating relationships are simply a part of the college environment. However, the CAs at USD's resident halls have a few rules to follow when it comes to their significant others. This time, the rules aren't given to them by their parents. Associate Dean of Students Phil Covington told Coyote News there are specific regulations for a CA-resident relationship.
Our community advisors are allowed to have dating relationships with residents. We just ask that they not be in a dating relationship with a resident that lives on the floor that they are responsible for in their building or complex. They are allowed to date somebody off of their floor. We would just ask them to make sure that their supervisor, which would be the residence hall director, is aware of that relationship so that we can manage any potential conflict of interest situations that may arise, and making sure that all of our residents are being treated fairly, and that we're maintaining the integrity of our program.
Covington says there generally aren't many issues regarding CA relationships, but they're prepared just in case.
If others on the staff or others in the building have a suspicion that such a relationship exists, especially if there's any suspicion that somebody may be receiving special treatment because of that dating relationship, that information usually finds its way either to us here in the central office or to the hall director so that the situation can be addressed.
Covington also says the university isn't interested in controlling anyone's dating relationships, but rather maintaining the integrity of the Community Advisor Program at USD.
USD's theater department is working on their first production of the fall semester. Coyote News' Kathleen Surrey is live in the muck with Callie Hesick, the director of Arcadia.
Thanks, Taylor. With their debut performance just 2 weeks away, we're here to get an update on how things are going at the theater department. Thanks for being with us today, Callie.
Thank you.
So can you give us a behind-the-scenes look at how practices have been going for Arcadia?
Rehearsals have been going on for about 4 weeks now, and it's 3 hours most of the time, and it's just working on the language, working on relationships, and trying to get the story across that is Arcadia.
Now, can you tell us the general plot line of Arcadia?
I'll do what I can. It's important to note that there's a single location in Arcadia, but it takes place over 2 centuries. The Regency period in the early 1800s and then 1993 in England. And it's all about a quest for knowledge. There's sex, there's life, there's philosophy, there's different ideals, and it's all about how time has a way of connecting these people with a common thread.
All right, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Arcadia premieres 2 weeks from today on October 9th. Live from the Muck, I'm Kathleen Surrey.
Thanks, Kathleen. For the past 2 years, USD's residence halls have been bursting at the seams. Coyote News' Andrew Farrell reports on the university's long-term plans for dealing with overcrowding.
According to Jeff Baylor, the Vice President of Marketing, Enrollment, and Student Services, North Complex is housing at 98% capacity, and the excess students are housed in overflow rooms. Originally study rooms, these overflow rooms are carpeted and larger than regular dorms and can house 3 to 4 students. Ideally, the university would like to add another residence hall on campus, and while the university does have a 10-year housing master plan, no plans for expanding student housing have been submitted to the Board of Regents. Also, according to Baylor, Julian Hall has outlived its lifespan, and it would be more realistic for the university to build a new facility. But what do the freshman students, the people affected by this situation the most, have to say about it?
I feel bad for those people because I know I just have one other roommate and it's tough enough.
I think it's kind of hard for the students to live there now just because they don't really have a room.
Overflow students could be in Coyote Village or another hall instead of having overflow in one hall.
If they like it, then it's fine. I don't think it would be a problem.
I think they should build another building to accommodate all the freshmen that are coming in.
For Coyote News, I'm Andrew Farrell.
The university is in the midst of a space utilization study. The results could determine the location of a potential new residential complex. Coming up after the break, a look at how USD is trying to boost school spirit and attendance to sporting events, plus an update on the football team season so far. Coyote Sports is next.
News, Wednesday, live at 5.
Tonight on Coyote Sports, the volleyball team hosts another honor. Thanks for watching. I'm John Weatherington.
And I'm Erica Arpan. The women's softball team earns national rankings. But first, the headlines. Caitlin?
The Green Bay Packers released kick returner Jeremy Ross after he fumbled a kickoff on Sunday's loss at Cincinnati. This was Ross's second fumble in the past 4 games. He also fumbled a punt in the playoff loss to San Francisco 49ers last season. Arizona Cardinals safety Rashad Johnson lost the tip of his left middle finger on Sunday, but he plans to play next weekend. Johnson says he'll take it day by day to see how everything heals up. He says the finger was driven into the turf and snapped off. NCAA President Mark Emmert says he's expecting a lot of change to the Division I governance structure over the next year. Emmert says the only thing everybody agrees on is that it doesn't work. The NCAA's annual convention is in January, and the board plans to adopt proposals at its April meeting. And that's a look at what's new in sports.
The Coyote football team continued its month on the road at Northern Arizona on Saturday. USD put up a tough fight against the number 22 ranked Lumberjacks. Coyote Tevin Foster intercepted a Northern Arizona pass to stop one of Lumberjacks' offensive drives in the first quarter and ran it back 9 yards. Tyler Starr also slowed down Northern Arizona with one of USD's 3 quarterback sacks. Coach Joe Glenn says the defense played well, but let Northern Arizona's Zach Bowman have too many rushing yards with 151.
I thought our defense played pretty darn good, other than, I don't know how many yards that guy had, but I thought we could have done a little bit better job on him. We had a lot of guys working on him, I know that.
Despite not getting a first down until the third quarter, the Coyotes still scored 2 touchdowns and a field goal, but lost 16-22. The Coyotes are now 1-2 on the season.
But the university is trying to change that. Athletic Director David Herbster, says there are many ways students can get involved with Coyote teams while they're on the road. And one of those is through the department's website.
From a television perspective, from a live stat perspective, or even being able to listen to it, the biggest vehicle to find all that information will be through the goyotes.com website.
USD also has many Twitter handles that students can follow to get play-by-play updates during the games. But for those who want to travel on the road, the university tries to coordinate that as well.
Between some groups on campus, between student government, bringing back and having the Coyote Crazies be involved in this, student life, and then athletics. We look at some of those things and try to determine what do we feel, what do we think students would be most interested in, and where would it be, or where would it make the most sense to try to put together a bus to bring students to a game.
Herbster says building a strong fan base is dependent upon the students.
Really trying to reconstitute and bring back and allow the Coyote Crazies to come back as a student fan group, and really letting them take it over will be kind of a first step to really engage the students and let them kind of help us, let them dictate what they want or what they think should or can be done.
Herbster says the university is still working on its plan to keep students interested when the teams play on the road, but it's up to the students to show their support.
On this week's sports commentary, Kelly Stewart takes on the subject of bullying in college football.
This past Saturday, I found myself on the couch, glued to the TV screen, and watching college football. It's a common occurrence for me and many others in the fall. However, I wouldn't describe everything I watch as a standard football game. I'm choosing to call it by a new name, bullying. Society tells us that bullying is a significant problem these days. This past weekend, I witnessed bullying in Louisville, bullying at Ohio State, and bullying in Iowa. Now, if you didn't see or forgot the score of some of these games, let me refresh your memory. Louisville beat Florida International University by a score of 72-0. Iowa stomped Western Michigan 59-3, and here comes the big one. Ohio State rolled over Florida A&M University 76-0. Not a good day for the mid-major Florida schools. Not surprisingly, there were some records tied and set in these games. The most outrageous record from the weekend happened in Columbus, Ohio, where Ohio State's backup quarterback, Kenny Guyton, threw a school record 6 touchdowns in the first half. Starting QB Braxton Miller was out with a sprained MCL that he suffered in a game back on September 7th. I don't mean to sound like a wishy-washy, non-competitor, feel-good, everyone's a winner fan. I'm all for competition. I'm all for athletes going as hard as they can every play. But I'm also all for actual good games. I'm just curious what the upside is for these major programs scheduling these easy games. Besides a pretty much guaranteed win, there really are only 3 results for each game, and none of them are very appealing. Let's say a team wins by 70. Most people leave the game saying, why did we have that team on our schedule? If the game is close, people leave the game saying, yeah, we're not going to be very good this year. And the final outcome, I like to call it the unimaginable, is when a large conference school loses to a small conference school, like USD beat in Minnesota 3 years ago. And someone usually loses his job. Granted, having a better record does help teams get to a better bowl game, but for me, I'd rather play the best competition every week and take my chances. For Coyote Sports, I'm Kelly Stewart.
Thanks, Kelly. After the break, which fall TV shows are students most looking forward to? Plus, your Facebook and Twitter responses coming up.
Climbing's awesome because it's challenging, both mentally and physically.
You gotta love climbing because even when you're not climbing, you get a great view.
Climbing's great because I feel like Spider-Man.
Climbing is great, because even my nerd friends can do it.
Climbing's awesome because there's always someone who has your back.
Come to the rock wall and figure out why climbing's awesome for you.
The temperatures are cooling down, the leaves are changing color, and everyone's favorite television programs are returning with fresh new seasons.
On this week's Out and About, we asked students which fall TV shows they're most excited for.
That's the problem there. I don't watch TV.
The Walking Dead.
I'm looking forward to The Walking Dead because I really like zombie shows.
Honestly, I really don't watch TV that much.
Oh, I don't watch TV.
I'm most excited to watch Duck Dynasty this fall because I fell in love with it last year and I'm just ready to laugh at Uncle Si's jokes.
Pretty Little Liars.
Definitely Pretty Little Liars.
Pretty Little Liars.
NFL football.
Pretty Little Liars.
Grey's Anatomy. Pretty Little Liars.
Sunday Night Football.
Pretty Little Liars.
Pretty Little Liars.
New Girl.
NCIS because Gibbs goes hard.
Oh no, I don't watch TV.
I'm really excited for The Big Bang Theory because I like all the physics and stuff in it.
Breaking Bad because it's badass.
The Big Bang Theory. Breaking Bad.
Big Bang Theory because it's very interesting, and Big Bang Theory has a smart apology, so we prefer this kind of series. Yes.
How I Met Your Mother because I love that show and it should end with a bang. And Breaking Bad. Last 2 episodes of Breaking Bad. So excited.
We asked you if the university should refund money to students for unused meals and flex dollars. Here are some of your responses. Tim Ward says, as a parent, at least it should roll over to the next semester or year as long as they're still enrolled.
And Brianna Helen says she doesn't think students should get a refund, but they should have more available meal plans to choose from. Thank you for the responses on Facebook and Twitter. Be sure to look for our question next week.
That's all for Coyote News. Don't forget to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter so you can respond to our questions each week.
Have a great night. We'll see you next time.